Hello, it's Julie from Spellbound, and we've reached the final stage of making our bouquet collage necklace. We've done all of the preparatory work for the back of the necklace, then we've made all the flowers and we've applied them with the additional berries and other motifs onto the front to complete the collage section of the necklace. We now need to put on some sort of strap or rope or chain to make it up into the necklace itself. Now I've looked at a couple of options and I've considered something like ribbon, which I think would give it a really nice modern look. But as we're beaders, I think we're going to do a beaded rope for the back of the necklace, and I'm going to copy the beaded rope that is on the original bouquet necklace, and this is a herringbone rope and it's got a little decorative edge along it which helps to bend the necklace into shape, and that's what we're going to be doing. Now on the original necklace, the clasp is made with a flower bead, and I made a loop big enough to go over the flower bead. But I must say, as pretty as it looks, it's sometimes a little bit awkward, especially if you've just done your nails. So I'm going to suggest we swap the flower bead for a different sort of bead that will match in with the colours we've already got. And I've had a little rummage around in my bead stash and I found a little purple flower which might work, and some 8mm rounds which will equally be suitable. I'm not sure which one I'm going to pick yet, but I'll have one of those as my clasp. I'm also going to need 2 4mm rounds or similar, perhaps large seed beads like the ones inside your berries, to bring the end of the rope together, and we put that on before we put the clasp bead on. So I need a couple of those, and we need some beads to actually make the rope with. Now I've had a look through the beads I used for the necklace itself, all of these different flowers, and I wanted something that would pick up on the main theme which I was going for, which was sort of russety reds and autumn colours. So I'm going to use gold for the main colour of the rope. I'm going to put a stripe in of the red, and then I'm going to do that decorative edge in the olive colour and the purple. So I've picked up some of the main colours out of the necklace. They're all size 10s. I've avoided the pink and I've avoided the yellow because when I tried them out they were a little bit strong, so I've gone for the other colours that are in this part of the design. Right, now it's made in herringbone rope, which you may or may not be familiar with. So I'm going to start it off and show you how it works. Now I've prepared a needle with about 1.5 meters of thread, because you need to do quite a bit of rope before you have to join in a thread, and the keeper bead's 15 centimeters from the end. And we're going to start off by making a little square stitch or ladder stitch foundation. So I'm going to put on 4 of the gold beads. I'm going to pass up 2, and pass down 2, and that brings us into a situation where we've got 2 columns of 2 beads. Now I'm going to add another column of 2 beads, so it's 2 more gold, Now there are lots of ways of starting off herringbone stitch, but I find this the most secure. So I passed down the previous 2 and up the new 2, and I'm going to put a stripe of the red. So I'm going to add 2 red beads as my last column. So I'm going to go up the previous column and down the new column. So I've got 4 columns in total, 3 gold and 1 red. I'm now going to make them into a cylinder. So I'm going to bring the red last row against the first row in the gold, and I'm going to go up that first gold row, down the red, and up the gold. So I've made a little barrel, 2 beads on each side, and we're going to refer to these vertical stitches as columns. So we're going to have column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, and the rope will come out of the top of these columns. Now herringbone is a nice flexible stitch, and it grows quite quickly because we put on 2 beads at a time. So I'm going to pick up a bead for each of the first 2 columns. So they're both gold, so I'm putting on 2 gold beads. I've come out of column 1, so I'm going to go down column 2. I'm just going to flick the beads so they sit on top of column 1 and column 2. And then going to go up column 3, so I'm in the right place to add a bead on top of column 3. So the top bead on column 3 is a gold, the top one on column 4 is a red, they're going to go across there. So I go down the top bead on column 4. There we are. So we've got 1 gold on top of the gold column, 1 red on top of the red column. And that's our first row of herringbone proper. Now at the moment the needle is coming out from the red bead on column 4 that is underneath the row we've just done. So it's actually 2 beads down. So we need to reposition the needle for the new row. So I'm having to go up 2 beads on column 1. So it's the bead that matches the needle, the thread position, and the one above it, which is the first bead of the row we just made. And now we continue. So it's 2 gold, 1 for column 1, 1 for column 2, down column 2, flick the beads so they sit right, up the top bead on column 3, and now we need a gold and a red. So there's the gold, there's the red, column 3, column 4, so down the top bead on column 4 to complete the stitch. And there we can see we've now got 4 in a stack and 4 in a stack. And now we need to reposition the needle again for the start of the row. So remember we're 2 beads down here, so we need to go up 2 beads, oops, we need to go up 2 beads to start the new row. There we go. I'll do 1 more. Once you get into a rhythm it's quite quick, so you'll be able to do 1, 2 gold for columns 1 and 2. Just flick them into place, up the top bead on column 3, and then we need a gold and a red, down column 4, just the top bead, and then reposition by going up the top 2 on column 1, and we're away. Now we need to make a length that's long enough to do one side of the necklace. So you need to have a little look at your necklace, and we're going to be joining on to the top of this loop here and the top of that loop there. Now I've made a piece of rope already, and it will link from there and go around to the centre back, and I'll make a second one that will go around from this side to the centre back. So keep checking as this starts to grow quite quickly that you don't make a rope that's too long, and I'll be back to you when I've completed the last few rows on this piece. So I've added just a few more rows to this little rope, and that will now be long enough to reach the centre back from one side of the end of the collage. Now I want to add the clasp to this end, and then I'll work back along one edge of the rope and connect it to the end of the necklace. Now I'm going to add the tag end of the clasp to this side, so we'll put a tag on this side, and on the other side we'll make a loop. So I've got the end of my weave here, and as is characteristic with herringbone rope, the last two rows separate out slightly. So to make it nice and firm, I'm going to just link those together with the ladder stitch or square stitch technique by passing up and down the top two beads on these columns. I'm only going to do it once because I've also got to use the holes in these beads to attach the clasp. If I keep going up and down, there won't be enough room for the thread when I attach the clasp. Right, now we want to pop that bead on the end, and then a couple of seed beads before we put the tag bead on, and the seed beads will give it a little bit of flexibility. So this will cover the end of the rope. So that's our 4mm bead on, and then we want something either side of this to make it flexible. I think at this stage it might be quite nice to bring in one of our pink beads, or perhaps one of our purple beads from the front, but I think we'll use the pink because we've got purple in our bead itself. So let's try this combination. So that's a few beads to give us flexibility before, and now we need to make an anchor. So we'll go with that one and a purple. No, because the flower is mainly purple, we'll put on a red. Now you could make a picot on the end, but I think because we've got the flower we don't need the picot. So I'm just going to go back down through that bead and back down the stack. So I'm pulling that little red bead up as the anchor. There we go. Right, now we came out of the top of this column here, so I'm going to go down through the diagonal column. I'm going to go down 3 or 4 beads to get a nice anchored position, and then I'm going to come back up the matching number of beads on the adjacent column, and then back up and down our tag beads. And clasps get a very large amount of wear and tear, and because our designs mainly are on display, they are often handled quite roughly, not by us, I hasten to add, but people can pick them up or yank them without realising that they might cause damage. So I've passed through the anchor bead at the end and back down through all the beads. And I came out of that column there when I made this pass, so I'm going to go down through the remaining column to finish off. Now that means that that's got 4 thicknesses of the thread going through it, up and down once, up and down twice. If you want to, you can take it through again, but I'm going to move on to doing the decorative edge. Now I want to work the decorative edge on the column that's opposite the coloured edge, or the coloured column that I've already inserted. So it's going to be opposite to that, which is this column here. I need to come up to the end of that column. Here we go. Now I'm going to work the decorative edge in the purple and the green beads, and I'm going to do it using a simple square stitch technique. So I'm going to start with the purple. I'm going to put on one purple, go through the end bead of the column back towards the clasp, and then pass through the purple bead again. And that makes a square stitch. The holes in the bead should be parallel. Put another purple. Back up through the next bead along towards the clasp and back through the new purple. I'm going to repeat on with a single purple, and we're going up through the third bead along and back through the new purple bead. Now I'm going to introduce a green one. So I'm going back up through the next bead along the column and down through the new bead. I'm going to put on another 3 purple. So my sequence is going to be 3 purple, 1 green, 3 purple, 1 green. Now if I continue to do this just in ordinary square stitch, makes a nice decorative edge, but it also tends to straighten out the rope because we're adding a rod of beads alongside this flexible rope. So we're going to have to put a little bit of ease into our rope. So 1, 2, 3, and that's our third purple one. Okay, so we've got 3 purple, a green and 3 purple. I'm now going to add that little bit of ease, and the ease is just going to allow the rope to bend slightly like that. So this row will lie on the outside of the curve around the neck, and the red will lie on the inside of the curve. And to ease it out, we're going to put 2 beads on for this stitch. 1 green, 1 purple. So it's green first, then purple. Back through the next bead along, and back through the 2 beads we've just put on. And that means we've got 2 seed beads joined to 1 seed bead. So that means that that stitch is a little bit wider on the edge, and it will start to bend the rope. Now I want to repeat this pattern, so I want to add 3 purple in total. So I've already got 1 on, so it's another 2 as individuals, 1 and 2, and I'm going to add the next green one as an ordinary stitch. Then we're going to add 3 purple, this is really quite relaxing after all the decisions I've had to make doing the collage, which was fun, but it's also quite stressful. So it's only stressful because I'm worried about making it wrong, and of course it's never wrong, it's just a decision that somebody else might not have made. However, so I've got my 3 purple ones on, and now I'm going to make another one of those double stitches. So it's 1 green, 1 purple, and that's the stitch again. So I pass through both of the beads I've just put on, and that's the sequence. So I'll need to add another 2 purple and a single green, then 3 purple, and I'll do that double stitch. And I'll continue to do that all the way down this edge. When I've got to the bottom, I'll be back to you to show you how to join it onto your collage. Right, I've worked all the way along till I come to the very end, and the last bead should have been a green one, but I put a purple one on just because I don't want it to jar if it should show against the edge of the necklace. And as you know, all beaders are a little bit finicky. We like things to be right, so I'd rather it blended in with an extra purple bead on the end. I've still got my needle attached, and this is the thread from the foundation row that we started off the rope with. So I've got 2 thread ends here, both of which I might need to use to join onto my necklace. Now I'll just move that out of the way for the moment and bring in the necklace. Now, as you can see, I've already completed the other side of the design. I've made an identical rope, and I've put a beaded loop on the end that will engage with the beaded tag that we've just made. And no, I couldn't resist, I had to do it in an assortment of colours. So I've gone round that at least 4 times and connected it really firmly to the end of the rope, and then come down and done that beaded edge that I'd just shown you. Now I did that so I could experiment with how I wanted to attach the strap to the end of the design. Now if we have a little look at the blank end here, on the original necklace I connected to the very end of this mesh. But this particular mesh, because it's got extra beads on it, it's a little bit less flexible than the original. So I decided if I was to connect it just to the end, it would make the front of the necklace very wide, which is why I wanted to experiment. And you can see on the loop side of the design, instead of connecting to the end here, I've actually connected to the region where the loop meets up with the main part of the plait. And I've done it at a slight angle, so it's coming in at about 45 degrees so that it then takes off around the neck neatly. Right, I'm going to need to do the same at this end. So here I'm going to join on to that little shoulder there with this side of the necklace. Now this is the right hand side as it's worn, and by convention the right hand side always has the tag end on or the clasp end on, and the other end would have the loop end on. But if you are left-handed, it's quite useful to do it the other way around because you'll find it easier to put on and off. Right, now let's have a little look. I need to join it so that the purple edge, the longer edge we've just created, is on the outside and the red edge is on the inside. Now if I offer them up to that shoulder like that, they come off at quite an abrupt angle, and I want to tilt it slightly. So when I stitch this on, I'm going to have to add a couple of red beads to the end of the red column, perhaps one, perhaps two, and perhaps one or two to the bottom of the adjacent gold column as well. Now we've actually got 5 columns to attach, so don't forget the column nearest the net because it's easy to miss that out because you can't see it from this surface. Right, let's sort out our thread. And determine which one we've got the needle attached to, which is the purple one because that's the one I've just finished. Now that's the one that's going to come up tight against the edge of the band, the edge of the wire. So I'm going to make a stitch through the band and get the join started. There we go. Now I don't want to just attach to this tiny bit of the mesh because if I do that, it puts too much stress on the mesh. So I'm going to take another stitch a bit further in, and then I'm going to work my needle back to the next bead I need to join on, which is this gold one here. I think I'm going to join. Do I need an extra gold? No, I don't think I do. I don't think I need an extra gold on this one, but I will do on the next column to get that angle. That's a little bit of wire there. I'll need to stitch that in. Okay, so down this column, and now I will add a gold bead before I stitch into the surface. That helps to create that angle we want. And now back towards the red. And let's see, I'm going to have to add 2 red ones. You can see now I've established an angle for the rope to leave the top edge of the mesh with. So I'm going to continue stitching here. I will take the thread up 4 or 5 beads into each column and down and into the mesh, and I'll make sure I catch the back column as well. When it's all secure, I'll finish off the ends and I'll be back to show you the finished result. Right, so here we have it. Here's our finished collage necklace. Unfortunately, it doesn't all fit on the screen all in one go and done up as well. But I'm actually quite pleased with that. I've really enjoyed making it. I've loved using these colours and I really hope you'll have a go too. It should be as neat on the back as you can make it, so it's nice and smooth to wear. And if you are in any way allergic to metal and things, I've actually found this particular mesh actually quite soft on the skin and doesn't cause an allergy for me because this colour comes from shellac, which has been dyed, so the wire isn't actually touching your skin, the metal of the wire. But if you want a more comfortable, luxurious finish, you could put a piece of ultra suede on the back, or just a piece of very soft velvet. Right, that's the end of our foray into bead collage. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'll give it a go, and happy beading. Thank you for watching.